Hi, I'm Warren Etheridge, host of The High Bar.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Hey Tina, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm going to be annoyingly near you.
That's fine, that's great.
I took a trip to LA with show producer Tina Knoll, and we were down at the Springs, owned by Kimberly Helms. It's like a little sanctuary right there in downtown. You'd never believe it. And we got a chance to talk to Tom Everett Scott. Now, it used to be that people would know him as the Tom Hanks surrogate in That Thing You Do, but now people probably know him as that guy, the sort of perfect husband in the Oscar-nominated La La Land. And today, he's going to raise the bar for what it means to be a working actor. And he really has been acting for a long time. So he's got a lot of wisdom to drop. That's right, a lot of knowledge to drop. Boy, do I sound white now. Good show for you. So I was hoping we can talk a little bit about being a working actor, because I remember when In Style magazine first came out, and looking at that and thinking, this is crazy. The actors I know don't actually live this lifestyle. You're going to tell me you do, actually.
No. You mean the lifestyle that's featured in the magazine.
Right. Any of those things.
Right.
Any of those. We wear great clothes. We have the best houses. My interior designer came over yesterday because we're redoing the kitchen immediately.
I think a lot of times people just assume either that, I'm extremely wealthy just because I'm an actor who's been in movies, but, don't consider myself that since I'm, stressed out. I think if I was extremely wealthy, I'd be a lot less stressed out. And it's really difficult. There's a lot of actors, there's a lot of people, there aren't a whole lot of gigs.
In La La Land, you show up, and in my mind, you show up essentially as the ideal husband.
When I read the script and realized that was who David was, because I got the sheet that said, for the role of David, and I read through the whole script. No, I know, right? I didn't. I actually wanted to read the whole thing without flipping to the back, and then I was like, wow, I'm on a page on 110, and where is the guy? Yeah, that is a spoiler, but I realized, though, that you wanted to feel like Emma Stone's character was going to be okay. And she had found a good guy, even though it wasn't her true love.
That's what I love about that character and that role, is that it would be easy to make him seem like a dick or something like that, and go like, oh, poor Emma. But instead, you're like, all right, it turns out okay.
There's literally no other actor in Hollywood who can pull that off. I'm the only one who's not a dick.
Really?
It's my claim to fame.
Have you considered going a little dicky? Maybe that would.
For those other roles?
That's right.
Everyone else has that covered. Why not just corner the market on non-dick?
So you read through that script, you figure out David doesn't come to page 110, but I guess you had a sense that it's a good film, that there's something there.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Yes, I was really excited because Whiplash was one of my favorite movies of the last, I don't even know how many years. I mean, I was just really into it, not just because, I had also played a jazz drummer or whatever, you know what I mean? I felt like that was a fantastic movie. So I was really excited that I was going to get to work with Damien Chazelle. And then the rest of the cast, it's just like, oh boy, what else could you want? So yeah, I was really excited. It's incredible what it's also gone from a small movie to tying the record for Oscar nominations. It's kind of amazing. I can't believe it.
And could beat West Side Story's record for actual wins.
For wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I assume that's a great feeling when you look at good material, regardless of the size of your part, and you think, I'm playing a role in something that I can stand by. When you take some other jobs, hypothetically working with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where you have more lines, what do you think then?
So, there is just a difference between projects. There just is. It's nice to be part of the ones that everyone really loves and enjoys. And it feels great. It feels great for people to connect, That's not to say that Enemies Closer didn't, get someone through a tough time, you know what I mean? They might have. It depends on what your taste is. If you want to see a movie about a park ranger who's actually a Navy SEAL, but doesn't seem like he ever could have been a Navy SEAL,
This is the movie for you.
Then this is the movie for you.
So, but when you get a project like that, does your prep for it change at all?
You know, I'm not gonna like sit here and like lie about like, you know, my approach to stuff that I don't feel like is you know, solid material, but I always have felt like, you know, I represent myself in a bad way. You know, I try to swing for the fences every time. I do prep. I do try to figure it out. I break down the character. You know, that's just my habit that I've developed over the years, and I'm always working on that. You know, even if it isn't a great movie, I'm always trying to like improve my approach to work. But yeah, sometimes you're just like sitting there in your cast chair watching it go down and feeling like, okay, you know, it's going to be one of those movies.
But I guess part of that is what I'm getting at with the working actor, is that what people don't recognize is that for almost anybody in the business, actor, screenwriter, director, if you're not at that like top whatever 1% or something like that, you have to do work that maybe you're not crazy about, but you still have to be professional.
Right, because I feel like you're still contributing to, this is going to sound really silly, but it is art, and you are an artist, and you're still trying to like work on your, you know, sometimes it's just to pay the bills, but it's still art. It's still some kind of representation. You still got to try to be true to the character, or try to be true to something. It'll help me get up in the morning to go to work, especially if it's like a 5 a.m. call, or in that movie, Enemies Closer, the entire thing was shot at night. And we were in Bulgaria, and they didn't speak English except for me, Peter Hyams, and one of my couple of my co-stars. We were the only ones who spoke English in the whole crew. And I was there for 8 weeks, and I was going mad. And I showed up on set one night, and I sat down next to some crew member who was rolling a cigarette, and I said, man, I'm going crazy. I can't find anywhere to eat. No one understands what I'm talking about. I'm going nuts. I miss my family. And he looked at me, and he was like, I don't speak English. I said, I know you don't speak English, but you're going to listen to me. God damn it. I need to get this off my chest.
Cheap therapy, at least. So missing family, I mean, that you are a family man, and going away like that must suck.
It does suck. I missed my daughter's, you know, graduation from her first school, her K through 6 elementary school. You know, they had like a sweet graduation ceremony. She got up and spoke and read something, and, you know, I watched it over FaceTime, you know, which is something that they didn't used to have. So that is something, but it's not the same as being there. I've missed a few things, you know, being on location and shooting things, but I really do try to make that flight and make that trip and see my kids for all the important things. I feel like I've been fortunate. I've been an active participant.
Do they get it? Do they believe in your job?
Yes. My daughter seems fine. My daughter's always been like, you know, really easygoing and pretty great about it. My son is more emotionally upset when I leave. He's just more sensitive that way, so it's been harder to deal with that, but they're great. He's 12, she's 16. They've been with me now that they're at this really great age for travel. They go with me to like Toronto, New Orleans, Atlanta, and they're having a great time. Like we have a blast. Just, you know, usually my wife stays here and works while they come and visit me, and they'll hop on a plane and come visit me, and it's been fun.
You take them out of school for that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they'll just tell their teachers like they're going to be gone. They're going to be visiting their dad is on location, and they'll get their assignments ahead of time or have to make some stuff up. But it's all gone well.
That's awesome. The author Michael Lewis talks about how he pulled and pulls his kids out of school all the time to go with him to do things, because he felt the experiences you can get doing something like that far outweigh any education.
Yes, exactly. I believe that too. They're seeing a city. They're figuring out, you know, adjusting and adapting. I think kids need to learn that as a skill.
Do they enjoy the fact that you're a star?
Most of the time they just forget. It's more of a normal situation until somebody like runs up behind us and goes, "You're that guy," you know, and they're like, "Whoa!" Like they'll get startled, or they'll think it's cool, or they'll be annoyed if someone, you know, interrupts us when we're having a family moment or something like that. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. They're pretty funny about it. They're pretty cute about it. I mean, my daughter, who's 16, came and saw a screening of La La Land and got to meet Ryan Gosling afterward, so that was a plus.
You just got a lot of cool points for that. That's got to count.
I did. Once you become a family man in LA or family woman in LA and you get into the school system, you meet a lot of people through school. Almost my my best relationships are with, moms and dads of my kids' friends. You know what I mean?
It's terrifying, though, isn't it? Because I always feel like I want to point my daughter to kids who have better parents.
A really funny example of that is my son became friends with Slash's son. And they're great. Slash is really sweet, but what was really funny was that I didn't know him that well outside of the cigarette-smoking guitar player with the top hat, from when I was in high school. But he's this great dude. But they had a sleepover at his house, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm letting my kid sleep over at Slash's house. And then the joke was on me because the next morning I went to pick up my son, and Slash was like, I was trying to get them to go to bed at 11. He failed, I guess. They wanted to watch a movie, so he set up a movie for them, but the projector in the screening room didn't work. But,
I hate when that happens. Right? It's terrible. Oh. Please tell me Slash's son is named Hyphen.
Semicolon.
That's right.
His name is Cash, actually.
Slash and Cash. Wow.
Yeah.
You could then technically seek out the schools that had a better PTA, perhaps.
You could. I always wanted to write this script about this couple that is it's these two playwrights that aren't married, don't have kids, but want to get something made, and they meet one of their friends is an actor who's mostly struggling, but then lands this huge role, and they're like, "Wow, congratulations!" He's like, "Yeah, Steven Spielberg is a dad at my kid's school," and then the whole plot of the movie is this writing team pretend to be a married couple that adopt a kid and get them into the private school system just to land that job.
They got to move fast too.
Yeah.
It's middle school. Got very little time to work.
Those are the ones you can adopt. The older kids that nobody wants.
And then you can throw them back in. It's like catch and release at that point.
Yeah.
So you do create too. Like you have an idea like that. I know you have other ideas that are inspired even by relatives of yours.
Oh, right. Yeah. My father-in-law and my best friend from college are these two bachelors who are 30 years apart in age, but they're the exact same guy, and we always joke that they would just make a hilarious odd couple. My friend, the younger component, he lives in basically an assisted living building. He answered an ad in Craigslist for a vacancy and took it, and it's a one-room studio in an old folks home. I helped him move in. I was like, dude, you can't live here, you can't live here, you can't live here. And he was like, it's temporary. He's been there 10 years. I mean, he has handicap rails in his room and bathroom, and which they're there in case. Maybe he's just thinking ahead, but
is he aging into it? Is this a plan? Like, is he going to get a score deal, or just
what kind of deal with who?
maybe it's like a rent control thing, so that when he's 60, boom, he's in.
He's in, right? It's one of these sought after old folks' places. No, but
he'll be the Godfather there.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be in charge of the joint. He'll get the best mahjong table or whatever they call it. But I've always thought that'd be funny if he lived with my father-in-law. But yeah, that is one of those ideas. Although my friend Greg won't let me write it. He said I know you think it's funny, but it's my life.
That shouldn't stop you. Doesn't he know who you are?
End the friendship and begin the long-running comedy series?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Right. I think he'll come back around if you throw him a little piece of the action.
All right, I'll try that.
It's worth a shot. But you have other ideas. What do you do? Like, you're not just an actor. You'd like to generate your own content.
I did. I wrote a short that I, directed and starred in and produced and stuff, and it was great and went to all the film festivals, and we did, pretty well and stuff, and I love it. But I would like to carve out more time for that. Right now, I'm really busy as an actor, which is great, and I'm honestly really happy as an actor. Acting, it makes me happy, and it's also how I survive. But filling the rest of the time with some creative stuff, that would be good too. I'm just not much of a writer. I just have a hard time putting my butt into the chair and writing.
Acting seems intriguing to me because you have to keep at it constantly. It's not like working at IBM and retiring with a gold watch or something. You constantly are proving yourself. But it's possible that it becomes harder.
It does. I'm sure it does. But it is the kind of job that, hopefully, knock on wood, I could continue to do. I just have to age gracefully into those grandfather roles.
The nice grandfather. Not a dick.
Nope.
Not a dick grandfather.
The non-dicky, charming grandfather. Right. That's what I'm hoping for. You do. You got to stay with it. And part of staying relevant and working is to take care of your body and keep your chops up and just, kind of stay involved.
The whole thing about staying in shape is funny to me in the sense that, one, it doesn't really reflect American society, and two, it didn't used to be that way for actors. I mean, it used to be you could watch old movies and the guys would take off their shirt and go like, that's sort of my body.
Dad bods are back. Dad bods are back, thank God. I think I could also get away with it too, and I don't mean to sound like I need to be this vain guy. I just think that it's important for me, for who I play usually. I have to, I think I do have to stay in shape, but
Nice dad / Navy SEAL.
Right. I still need to look like I could, skin a bear.
Right. So when you look at other actors' careers, because it is hard, actor, actress, to keep that going for a long time, is there somebody who you watch and you think, that's the one, that's the career I want to emulate?
There isn't one person that I look at and think that. I definitely, I'm carving out my own thing and trying to figure out my own thing. It's enough work just to figure out who I am. Certainly along the way, I admire other actors and would love Johnny Depp's career. Sure, the guy's amazing, gets to play all these crazy characters, and it looks like sane fun, and he's one of the richest actors in the world. Who wouldn't want that career? But but that's not me. Like I said, I think my focus is to just kind of figure out what kind of roles I'm going to play, and what's the best path for me.
And how do you figure that out? Just doing it?
Yeah, I think just doing it because, over the course of 20 years, things have changed, the different kind of things that I'm able to do or seen as. But I don't know. I think it just kind of depends on the material that comes my way and what opens up.
And does anybody try to advise you? Does Jenny try to advise you? Does anybody?
Oh, yeah. Jenny's got lots of advice, not just for me, for everybody. She's good that way, and she's usually right. So, I've definitely learned to listen and not be so defensive, which is usually, my take on it. I'm a pretty, try to figure it out myself kind of guy. We've been able to make a marriage work, and part of that is dealing with each other's opinions, and certainly she has an invested interest in what happens to my career. She has always had good advice. I can't practice my auditions with her anymore. That's way too much, way too overwhelming.
Because there's too much feedback?
Way too much. I mean, at first we would just fight. We wouldn't even get through the first scene. So I just learned my lesson to work on it on my own. And I have to say, for every difficult moment we had while I was practicing a scene and she was helping me, and it was just making me angry or frustrated, she's also giving me the most valuable advice. If she's watched me in a play and she'll say, hey, they're in that one moment, what if you did this, because that would really show that your character is vulnerable or whatever. And I'll do what she told me because I was like, that's a good idea. And then someone will come up and be like, oh, it was great when you reached down and just started lacing up your shoe and you could tell that whatever it was. I was like, yes, all the credit goes to Jenny. But early on, she was an actor too, and we met in drama school, and we were both in New York with our headshots and resumes sitting, laying around, kind of waiting for the phone to ring. And at one point, the phone was ringing quite a bit for me and not at all for her. So, there was definitely a level of frustration. And, she was saying I don't know if I want to do this. And I was like, well, you have to be willing to die trying. And she was like, shut up, whatever. That sounds ridiculous. I had my big break, and she actually preferred pursuing photography. And so she got into photography and wound up working in the magazine world, in the photo editing world for a while.
Is keeping a little distance significant in the relationship? Like keeping your artistic self separate from your family self?
I don't try to keep any of it separate. It certainly is if I'm halfway around the globe doing something, they're not involved. But we're a creative, artistic family. Both my kids are artists. My daughter is looking at art schools now for graphic design and illustration. My son is insanely gifted artist. The stuff that he does is kind of mind-blowing. So, we're always being creative. There's a bunch of musicians in our family. There's chefs. There's, so I think the more you weave it together, the better it is. Certainly for me, I always need those kind of like artistic outlets.
And with your kids having that talent, do you think that's a nature or nurture thing? Do you think they were just born that way, or does it help to have parents who are creatively inclined?
Neither one of us were saying don't do that. We were encouraging it from the beginning.
I'm dealing this with my daughter, who's been writing poetry and she plays bass and stuff, but her poetry is getting really pretty good. But I'm very cautious about how much to say qualitatively about her work. Do you have any advice?
I mean, I grew up with one parent who rarely said anything. It wasn't negative. It just wasn't extremely positive. Just a quiet guy, my dad. And then my mom was just constantly telling me that I could do anything I put my mind to. It was nice to have the combination. It was certainly nice to not have people who were putting me down and telling me I couldn't do it. I don't think you have to teach kids to be, good with criticism. I think they'll learn it as they go along. As advice to my daughter, we just did National Portfolio Day so she could beef up her portfolio for art school applications. And, going into it, I don't think she had ever had anyone say hey, try this, or maybe this, not so much this or that, or critique her work. I just, as a word of advice, I was like, you're going to have to be open-minded to criticism. And it was just so funny because we were on the car ride home, it started out as open-minded to criticism, and then it turned into what, well, I'm not changing that, and I'm like, okay. And you want to have a healthy dose of confidence and feeling oh no, my thing is right. I did see it that way. I don't see it that way. You do have to have a healthy dose of that too.
So there's the one part about the criticism, but there's the other side is I see a lot of parents who seem like they over-encourage their kids. Like every kid's a genius all of a sudden.
Right.
Which makes me nervous.
Right. Isn't our generation guilty of being the, really the helicopter parents and the everyone wins a trophy kind of thing and all that? Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. There needs to be this natural kind of weeding out. It'll happen. It won't just, it will happen, especially if you go into this as a career. The rest of the world isn't going to buy your stuff. Your parents and your grandparents are supposed to love everything you do. If I see that my kids are turning in bad work, then I'll tell them, yeah, you could have done better. You could have put more effort into that. And my son, like I said, who's such a good artist, he let this one assignment slip. And he was rushing to do it. He illustrated this whole book in an hour before the bus. And we just had parent-teacher conference. And I was like, dude, you left this to the last second. I'm telling you, turning in crap work. And you're going to get a bad grade. At the parent-teacher conference, the teacher pulled it out and was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, no! Damn it! This goes against everything I'm trying to do.
Don't tell him that. Pay off the teacher next time. But to me, when I look at your career or actors like yourself, one of the things that amazes me and that I just have such respect for is the ability to work consistently, do good work over time. Seems more impressive to me, frankly, than Johnny Depp.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because that feels like. It almost feels like a trade at that point, like you're actually doing something. That is a skill, and you're working it, and people like it, and they keep hiring you because you're good at it.
Sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I do feel like that I'm this blue-collar actor. You know what I mean? I do have to go in and do a job and do it well. And especially when, a couple times in my career, I've replaced someone or two people, and I'm like, oh, they call me in to get the job done. They hired that guy. He fucked it up. Now I'm coming in to fix it. I like to look at it as, like I said, as something that you improve over time. Certainly I look at the early stuff and, there were some clunkers, and I've learned a lot from watching the early stuff and improving on it.
And you can go back and do that? And
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's just so painful, but no, it is smart to think about. I think it's smart to go back every once in a while I don't seek it out, to be honest. I don't seek out my old stuff. But I mean, as I've gone along, I have either accidentally revisited something, or in my mind, my memory of things I've tried to like improve. It's certainly been, over time.
And looking back now, is there a hallmark of the thing that you wish you could change from your earliest days?
I think I should have been a lot more, this is funny, open-minded to criticism as early on, because I think I did get too upset by what people thought. And I think I did shy away from taking risks because of criticism. I think I should have taken more risks early on.
Do you think that was impacted by the early success?
Yeah, because the first thing was received so well and the next two things weren't. And so, absolutely direct result of that.
So maybe a slower ramp up would have been better.
Yeah, like Bryan Cranston's career, man, like to break out as an adult, as a real adult, somebody who really gets it, like that would probably be better than, 25 and no clue and just like no idea how to navigate Hollywood.
Just have to pace ourselves. That's it. That's the secret.
Yes.
I want to be a late bloomer. That's the
what
key.
You want. That's what you want.
So, looking forward, where do you think you'll improve?
I still need to do the same thing. I still need to be willing to take more risks, and trust. I think trusting that simple choices are the better choices in a lot of art, and at the same time not be afraid to take a risk. I feel like lately I've been doing these comedies, and you have to put that work in ahead of time, the preparation, feel like you know where you're going with this character, and then when you get on set, sometimes you can be led astray on set by what people are laughing at, and you just have to kind of trust the process that you put in ahead of time. Try to stay true to this character. I mean, things can change and you have to be able to like change on the fly, but I've gone back and seen stuff that I thought was hilarious and realized, oh, no, we just thought it was funny on that day. It really wasn't funny. And, that comes from understanding the material and working towards a point, working towards something. So going forward, I like just to keep intact my good habits, and for right now, there's a lot of comedy in my world right now, so I'm kind of like that I'm having to play. So I'm just kind of working on that, focusing on that. Eventually, it'll be something else.
2 generations, 3 generations from now, would you rather be remembered as a great actor or a great dad?
I think I would rather be remembered as a great dad, but it's funny, like really, like the acting, that's in a medium that will be seen later. No one will see whether I was a good dad. It's just through the kids you put out there, the way that you pass it on. I definitely would much rather be remembered as a good dad, because the audience is my kid. You know what I mean? Like, way more important to me that person is satisfied and feels like I did a good job than the audience is.
Well, it seems as if you nailed that one, and and they're almost out of the house. You don't have that much longer. You can make it.
Yeah, I know. I'm barely hanging on. It's 3-legged race me and my wife are doing. We're almost to the finish line.
And you are a lunch-pail actor. That's what we'll call you, a lunch-pail actor.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's good. My hard hat, my thermos.
That's right. Yeah. So thank you so much for being a working actor, great dad, good man.
Thanks for having me.
Not a dick. Not a dick.
That's amazing.
Many, many, many thanks to Kimberly Helms and Max over at the Springs in downtown LA, as well as to Jane Charles. Thanks so much for your help with this episode. New episodes of The High Bar come out every Thursday. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, visit our website, thehighbar.tv. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, where you can find us at The High Bar. And on Instagram, we're at thehighbar.tv. If you like what we're doing, we'd love it if you'd take some time to review us on iTunes. It really would go a long way. The show is produced by Tina Knoll and Large Media. Our editor is Warren Langford. Our production assistant is Sarah Leibovitz. Our theme music was composed by Ralph Kent. And I am your host, Warren Etheridge. Think responsibly.